Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back. So it finally happened. You've been in contact with your ex and they want to get back together. Woohoo! That's the day you've been waiting for. So what do you do now? Do you just get back together? I think you know the answer to that if you've been listening to me for a while. Not so fast. You're not getting back together that easily. There's something you have to do. That's why I'm going to discuss the 6 questions to ask your ex when they want you back. But before I do that, I want to remind you to be sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out on any future videos. And while you're at it, tap the bell icon so you'll be notified when a new video is up or if I do a live. Once in a while I do go on live and answer questions, so you want to make sure you get a notification. So, you may have already listened to my other video where I talked about the number one mistake people make when they hear back from their ex. And that is that they get back way too easily. They say, I love you right away. They say, I miss you. They have conversations for hours. And they don't ask certain questions. So today I want to talk about those questions. Why do you need to ask questions? Why should you not just get back together? Because you want to show that you're high value, and a high value person isn't just going to take back someone that easily after they've been dumped. You need to find out what their interest level is. How willing are they to answer the questions? How much effort and work are they willing to put in? That's the same reason why I tell you not to respond to insignificant texts. Because if you don't respond, then you'll see, are they going to contact you again and say something more significant? And if they don't, it means that they never intended to get back with you in the first place. And so this is the same with the questions. Like, how serious are they about getting back with you? Because if they are serious, then they will do what they have to, and they'll answer any questions that they have to answer. You don't just want to go back in with issues unresolved. So you need to discuss the issues, how you're going to resolve them, and you're going to ask them these 6 questions. Because when you first get back together, you have to think of it as a probation period, if you will. Don't think, all right, that's it, we're back together. It's like, let's see, let's try this out. You know, you ask the 6 questions that I'm going to tell you, and think of the first month or so as probation. Let's see if things really have changed. And if not, well, you can always be the one to leave this time. So let's go. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, do not ask all these 6 questions like in a rapid fire round. This isn't a game show, because someone wrote in that they listened to the previous video that I mentioned and they sent an email to their ex and they asked all these questions at once. Now, luckily for him, it worked out and they're back together, but you don't want to bombard them. So you kind of slip these into the conversation one at a time here and there. You don't just go, all right, I have 6 questions, you sit there and I'm going to ask them and you better answer them. You want to be a little more subtle about it. Okay, here we go. So the first one is, why do they want to get back together? And the answer can't be because they miss you. It has to be more than that, because they might miss you today, but they may not miss you next week. Do they want to get back together just because they miss you? That's not good enough. What about you? They have to realize that they made a mistake. They want to say something along the lines that their life is better with you in it, they've realized. You want honesty. You want to see that they've thought about things. You want to see that there's been introspection. You don't just want to accept that they miss you. So they have to have a good response to why do they want to get back together. Question number 2, why should you give them another chance? Remind them they kicked you out of their life, and they showed you that they could live without you. They were willing to live without you because they were willing to break up with you. And again, an unacceptable answer is, well, I want to get back with you because I love you. And your answer to that should be, well, do you always break up with people you love? It's like, oh, now you love me? You had to break up with me to realize that you love me? So you can't just accept the answer, well, I love you, to any of these questions, actually. It's like, well, that's nice, but do you always break up with people you love? So again, we're looking for introspection and honesty. Number 3, why did they change their mind? What, their rebound didn't work out? You don't want that to be the only reason they're getting back with you. You want to see that they've thought things through and they've learned something. So why did they change their mind? What caused them to change their mind? And by the way, these questions, they need to be done in person. You want to see their body language. You want to see their eyes. If you've been dating them for a while, you know them. So you want to know if they're telling the truth, and you want to know what they really feel. And you need to be in person to see that. Do not do this over text. Do not do this over email. Do not do this over FaceTime. I mean, unless it's long distance, then okay, one exception. But other than that, it has to be in person. Question number 4. Why should you trust them? In the sense that, how can you trust them that they will not break up with you again? Now, obviously, no one can guarantee that they will never break up with you. But if they were able to do it once, who's to say they're not going to do it again? I mean, would you ever have broken up with them? Probably not. They didn't see you as valuable. So what changed? Right? They have to tell you what has changed that they realize that no, they made a mistake and they do not want to break up with you again. Unless you were too needy or you were being beta, if you were a man, and they got turned off. So if that's the case, then it's up to you to change your behavior so that you don't turn them off again and lower their interest level again. And in fact, I had a recent client who got his ex back after being too needy, and I will be doing a video on that very soon. I'm going to title it, How to Get Your Ex-Girlfriend Back If You Were Needy. So be on the lookout for that. So in that case, obviously you played a big part in the breakup in that you lowered their interest level with your neediness. So as long as you don't go back to being needy, then they will not break up with you again. Number 5, what is going to be different? So if they weren't treating you right, if they took you for granted, if they didn't prioritize you, if they cheated on you, this is especially if you had to break up with them because they took you for granted or they cheated on you, and they want to come back. So how do they know they're not going to take you for granted again? That they will prioritize you this time, that they're not going to cheat again once the rush of getting back together is over. So again, here we're looking for someone who has thought things through. And finally, number 6, and this is actually the most important of all the questions. If you never ask any of the other questions, for whatever reason, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if for some reason you don't ask the other 5 questions, although I don't recommend it, you must ask this, and that is, how are they going to make it up to you? People need to know that there are consequences for their actions if they're going to deal with you, especially if it was a fake breakup. And if it's a fake breakup, they will usually contact you within 2 weeks or less. So you don't want to get into a cycle of they get upset with something, they don't know how to communicate, so they break up with you, and then they contact you within 2 weeks, and then they break up with you again, and then they contact you. No. So there have to be consequences for action. This question alone makes you high value. It shows that you're not just going to take them back just because they asked you to. It shows that you're not desperate. And if they're not willing to make it up to you, then there's no point in getting back together. It's not going to work. So you have to figure out what it is you want them to do to make it up to you. You can certainly ask them for suggestions. You can say, well, how are you going to make it up to me? And they might say, Well, I don't know. What do you want me to do? And then you should have some things in mind of what you want them to do to make it up to you. I don't know, maybe a new Ferrari, a new house. Just kidding. But, think of what you need in order to feel that they have made it up to you. So let me recap again these 6 questions. And these are in no particular order. Why do they want to get back together? Why should you give them another chance? Why have they changed their mind? Why should you trust them? What is going to be different? And how are they going to make it up to you? So I'd like you to comment below of how you would want your ex to make it up to you if they want to get back together. And in the meantime, if you would like my help personally to get your ex back, you can contact me at my website, theartoflove.net. The direct link is below. If you're listening on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. If you're listening on iTunes, I would appreciate if you would rate and review the podcast. And finally, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.